Today I'm going to be taking a look at a very popular expression of Laphroaig. It's Laphroaig Triplewood. So the Laphroaig Triplewood, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar, was originally a travel retail exclusive, but they made the decision, possibly when they realised that it's actually quite good, to unleash it on the rest of us and not have it as an exclusive travel retail purchase anymore. And Laphroaig Triplewood, just give you some basic details from the tube, it's 48%, so that's already a really good sign. They're clearly marketing this at people who know their whiskey and appreciate whiskey rather than sticking it out there at an underpowered 40% like they do the 10-year-old, because apparently no one cares about that. And it's a no age statement whiskey, and we actually know this is a little bit unusual for Laphroaig. This is declared as a non-chill filtered whiskey, so that kind of makes you think that it's a premium, almost craft presentation whiskey, until you look at the back of the tube. And it says on here, and pardon my terrible pronunciation, Mit Farbstoff, Farven Justeret Med Caramel. That doesn't sound good, does it? So there's actually a law in Germany that if you put artificial colouring in whiskey, because it's a terrible thing to do, you have to declare it, rightly so, on the label and tell everyone what you've done so that everyone knows that you've been a very naughty boy. So this, what I was going to say, is almost a craft presentation of Laphroaig, being non-chill filtered and high ABV. They've actually decided to change their mind at the last second and dump a load of artificial colourings in this. Baby steps, I suppose. One day we might get there. I am actually fairly cautious of any whiskey which is a travel retail exclusive, if I'm honest. They tend not to be the best whiskies. And I think the problem is, duty-free is kind of a thing of the past now. It used to be that you could get some really good deals when you go through the duty-free, but you've probably all realised that it's really not that cheap anymore. You don't get real bargains in there like you used to. So what's happened now, the duty-free companies will approach whiskey distilleries, and I've heard this from a few sources, that the duty-free companies will basically pressure the distilleries to produce something exclusive for them, something special to get people excited about the duty-free section at the airport. But obviously the distilleries don't want to produce an entirely different expression just to have it sold in a very limited market. So I sort of suspect that a lot of distilleries don't care that much about these travel retail exclusives, because what you quite often get from a lot of distilleries is some fairly young spirit stuffed in a litre-sized bottle, and it'll have some wacky cask finish applied to it. And a perfect example of this is the Laphroaig PX cask, which is, if you haven't tried it, it's young Laphroaig whiskey dumped into a Pedro Ximenez cask for a few months before it's stuffed into the litre bottle and sent off to the airport. And probably most people will agree with me that the PX cask is probably one of the worst Laphroaigs. I would rank it right down there with Laphroaig Select and probably the QA cask. But, like I hinted at the start of this video, I think that there's something else going on with this Laphroaig Triplewood. There's a reason why they decided to stop it being an exclusive travel retail and be released on general sale. And I think the reason for that is because it was really popular and it's quite good. So let's get on with the nosing and the tasting. One last thing. The meaning of Triplewood, obviously it's 3 different casks, and what they've done in this case is it's initially matured in ex-bourbon casks, so your standard maturation that you would get in something like the 10-year-old. It's then re-racked into smaller quarter casks, which are about half the size of an American standard barrel. And then for the last part of its maturation, it's re-racked into European oak sherry butts. So that's a little bit exciting in itself, because you're not talking about a sherry hogshead made out of bourbon casks that's been treated with sherry. They actually specify that it's European oak and that it's a sherry butt as well. So that makes you think that they're actually using genuine sherry casks and not just run-of-the-mill bourbon wood American oak that's been treated with sherry. But that's enough delays. Honestly, I'm going to get around to nosing and tasting this now. Let's see how it smells. So straight away I can tell you that the maturation in the sherry butts and even the raw oak, which I'm really not a fan of quarter casks. I generally don't like them, and I think it always comes off as a little bit forced, but in this one it's actually not too bad. So you're getting a lovely earthy chocolate note to it, and it's backed up by some actually quite nice wood spice. It is a very modern smelling and tasting whisky. It's not traditional in the fact that they've used that virgin oak quarter cask, but it does really work. Also getting quite a bit of honey and vanilla on the nose, and some really nice notes of clove, and I think that's coming from a combination of lots of things. Probably the peat and the wood spice. It's combining to give you this medicinal clove note that goes really well with the wood spice and that medicinal briny Laphroaig peat. As for the peat, it's definitely there in this one. The worry with wine treated and sherry treated or Pedro Jimenez or any of those things when you apply it to a peated whisky is that it does have a habit of toning down the peat, but it really hasn't in this one. It's really there, and it's as present in this one as it is in most modern Laphroaig expressions, if I'm honest. I'm getting a really strong and really tasty note of iodine and something like antiseptic floor cleaner, a little bit of a medicinal, actually medical hospital note in there. Let's see how it tastes. First of all, I will say that it's lovely to be able to drink a Laphroaig expression, and a good Laphroaig expression, at a proper strength of 48%. It's so annoying that Laphroaig is such a great distillery and they ruin so much whisky by bottling it at 40 or 43%. This is the real deal. It's really nice. Getting a big hit early on of some lovely earthy fruity peat and some really nice chocolate and honey on the palate as well. One of the things that I really like about this whisky is that the cask and the spirit, or the multiple casks and the spirit, really integrate so well. Nothing really stands out and beats down the other flavours. You can taste everything and it all goes together so well. It's really quite pleasantly surprising. You are getting quite a lot of raw oak spice and some tobacco notes as well. And again, it's so well integrated that it's hard to actually say where each flavour is coming from. But I think that raw oak spice and the tobacco, it's actually a 50-50 combination of that sherry butt and the virgin oak quarter casks. There's also a little bit of brininess there, the sort of thing that you typically get in a Laphroaig. And towards the late palate you get a little bit more sweet vanilla and a little bit of slightly dry Oloroso sherry from that sherry butt. And there is also something in there, a little bit of almost a sweet red wine sort of note on the late palate. Obviously we don't think that there has been any sweet red wine in this, but it's the sort of flavours that you would typically get from a red wine finish. As for the finish, medium long, spicy, definitely spicy, fairly dry and savoury. As for a grade, I'm going to give this one a solid B. Really can't express it enough that it is an amazing achievement that all the different casks and all the aspects of the spirit in this one all go together so well. It's really lovely stuff. So join me in the next video where I'll be comparing this Laphroaig triple wood to something else. Cheers.